Hi everyone, here's a team game this time, 6 versus 6 on Folsom Dam, and I'll be talking a bit about different front lines. I'll be talking about using map awareness in team games specifically to adapt to the situation at hand, and I'll also be talking a bit about unit composition, unit choices depending on map features. All right, so let's have a look at this map in particular, Folsom Dam. It's a bit of a larger map for larger team games, and it has three distinct front lines. This is the northern part, that's identical to the southern part, but mirrored, and then the center, which is quite narrow and very flat. All right, so the effect that these map features have is that in the center, raiding units such as PVs, Flash, Instigators, AKs are a lot less effective as they cannot use their speeds to move around. They have lower hit points, lower range, and that means that more skirmishing units are a lot more effective because they can easily use the cover of defenses to help them. And this is really how map features work, is that the more open, flat, larger the map is, the more defenses you need to cover everything, and thus the more raiding units are effective because they can easily go around these defenses. But the more narrow it is, the more easy it is to use defenses, and thus the faster these longer range skirmishing units are effective. And we'll see this in action quite effectively, especially in the center on this map. The north and the south is a little bit more open, not terribly wide, but still a lot more. So, for example, here, while this player here has defenses, it doesn't cover everything, so it's still quite easy for raiding units to go around the sides and, for example, go up these slopes. So raiding units here would still be effective early on, whereas here, for example, in this instance, a simple defense here counters any and all possible raiding units that the west players here are sending, meaning that these are a little bit wasted, and skirmishing units would be a lot more effective. As we can see here, raiding units just simply can't bypass this. So let's overview this specific match. The West team here has distributed their players quite evenly, 2 in the north, 2 in the center, and 2 in the south. Whereas the Eastern team here has 1 in the north, 1 in the south, 2 in the center, and then 2 back players who are focusing on economy and personal defense, and the likes. So we'll see how that goes. If you do communicate well with your team, you can let them adapt better. For example, in this specific instance, these two players did not communicate with their ally that they were going to stay back, meaning that this player is quite forward and will be quite vulnerable to a attack by these two opposing teams. So he's not building up like a defensive line, waiting and trying to survive until his allies are helping him, which would be a lot more effective than like moving too far forward and getting caught off guard by all these enemies. Similarly, in the south, it will be a 1 versus 2, and ultimately the eastern player here can't hold on indefinitely against this and will need the rest of his team to win elsewhere faster than he is losing in the south, and that's really what happens when teams are uneven like that. So you have these 3 front lines who are uneven, and it's not so much about um, where where you can stabilize it, but where you're not losing. And here in the north and the south, with time, both of those eastern players will lose, and any front line that loses means you're a player down, and then you're playing at a huge disadvantage. So map awareness. This player is going for a heavy eco, slow build up. Same with this player without helping their teammate, meaning this player here will die. And then it's a 5v6, which is a lot harder to win than a 6v6, of course. And then not only that, but the enemy gains a huge amount of map control, meaning more metal income, plus all the metal from all these units here that are going to be destroyed. Making it terribly difficult. Even if you gain like a small advantage by going tech 2, it's easily lost, that advantage, with everything you're giving the opponent. So quite of a difficult position to be in here for the East. The center, however, is winning mostly due to unit choices very early on, building skirmishers versus those raiding units, meaning defenses are a lot more difficult to use. Even commanders have a difficult time against skirmishing units, which is quite important. As long as you keep your skirmishing units microed, you can keep outranging a commander, and then you can ultimately push something that plays differently on wider maps. On wider maps, these storms, they would simply be bypassed by going around it, something you can't do as easily here. Both teams in the north and the south have chosen also for skirmishing units, even though it would be entirely valid to make raiding units and, for example, move them up here in this slope and attack economical sides. They've chosen not to do so, but are winning all the same against their singular opponent. So that this provides a very good opportunity for the West to win this game. Noting that with this map, since the center here is secluded from the rest through this impassable terrain, boom goes the commanders. Through this impassable terrain, meaning that the front lines are quite isolated, meaning you can't simply help that easily with your standing army the other sides of the front lines. So it becomes a bit like 3 secluded small games within the larger game, which can make for interesting base races and so on. For example, here all the static defenses are destroyed. Here the skirmishing units, while they were good, now would be a lot more appropriate to build raiding units and send them in, as there's like no more defenses, and these raiding units would easily be able to raid the other bases or simply destroy these bases, which would have huge effects, basically destroying the building capacities of the other players. Unfortunately, the standing army is skirmishing units, and since the north is falling apart, the newly built reinforcements needs to be used over then. And that's something that the West is doing as well. They're seeing the center is collapsing. What do we need to do? And they're sending reinforcements. They're sending new units to help. And that's a lot of the map awareness. It's seeing what's happening. Okay, I'm winning on my side. Okay, that's all good. But what's happening in the rest, and being aware and adapting and sending. If an ally is losing, sends help, sends units. Otherwise, once your ally is dead, the next person is you, of course. So adapting a lot is not only to what's happening on other places of the map, but where you are. Like the enemy doesn't have any static defenses anymore. You need raiding units. Oh, the enemy has built up a lot of static defenses. Oh, you can build more skirmishers, or you can try somewhere else. For example, if the enemy had a huge amount of static defenses here, instead of trying to push too hard to the center, the middle player could go around to the other fronts, help over there. making those static defenses basically useless since the pressure is applied elsewhere. And that's a bit what needs to be considered a lot during gameplay. Something else is, for example, slopes. All right, these vehicles are very slow up a slope. They also fire, not all of them, but the plasma units, such as Stumpies, they shoot not as far uphill, so um, all of those need to be considered. And yeah, here the center for the East team has not been able to break through. That the West has come to the rescue for the center, and this is a stalemate, whereas the North and the South both are quite collapsing slowly. So here's another base destroyed, and that's pretty much how the rest of this game goes. So yeah, that's a bit the view on unit choices, on map awareness, adapting to what's happening. Don't be afraid to zoom out, look at your teammate, what are they doing over there. Use opportunities to send in some raiding units. I think this is a really good attack. The center here was better defended, but being able to send a raiding unit into enemy bases is well worth it. Being able to destroy um, build power, destroying energy production, really disrupts the ability to produce units for the enemy team. All right. All right, that was it. The rest of the game is pretty much continues as expected. And if you have any replays you'd like me to comment on, maybe I can give some tips here and there, explain some common mistakes or the like. Don't be afraid to send over some replays. Be happy to. And yeah, no, thanks for watching. And yeah, see you around. Cheers.